Tonight. This is Tim Sutton. We're coming from a different place tonight with a new perspective, trying to talk about an event we're getting ready to have here in the Richmond area for a new perspective. And what we want to try to do is have an event and give a new perspective for those with different abilities, not disabilities, but different abilities. So we're here at Roma's Restaurant here in Mechanicsville, Virginia. And they've opened up their restaurant to allow us to have an event. We're coming from here tonight, and on the 25th of September, we will have more people here for an event. And you're going to meet some amazing people. I've got a couple that we are going to talk to tonight that are in my community and have helped us out and are involved in dealing with disabilities in different businesses here in the county where I live. And one person I wanted to bring up that could not be here tonight is Fatima Gunter, and she's actually a manager of the Lowe's home improvement store here locally. And I hope she's feeling better soon, but she was going to come and have a talk with us. They have been very proactive in hiring individuals with disabilities, also autism. I've got a friend of mine who's going to talk to us in a few minutes who is on the spectrum, and he's going to tell you what it means for him to have the opportunity to have this job. Have been giving this opportunity, but Lowe's has really stepped up and they're interested in this event that we're having on the 25th, and I hope you can make it. There are tickets available, but we've got a lot of things to auction off, raffle off, and one of the things that Lowe's has done has actually donated a 6-burner grill for us to donate to try to raise money for the Chapters Network so I can continue to do this show, and other shows can be done here locally as well, to give people a new perspective. If it's your first time tuning into the show, I am a law enforcement officer here in the state of Virginia, and I've been doing law enforcement, been an officer for 32 years, going on 33 years. And I started working a lot with special populations back in 2003, people who were dealing with autism, intellectual disabilities, also caregivers and individuals dealing with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. And over the time, as time progressed, I started to meet so many different people living the Alzheimer's journey, dealing with autism. And I started to realize that law enforcement specifically, we were responding on a lot of calls for service. And it's not just law enforcement, but it is public safety in general, responding on calls, dealing with people with various types of disabilities. And with autism, Alzheimer's, your dementias, we're going to touch a little bit on hearing disability. But one thing that I like to stress, and I'm working with some people to develop some training on, is what you call invisible disabilities. Disabilities where if you look at somebody, you can't tell something's different. If somebody's in a wheelchair, uses a walker, you can look at that person and know. But many people who have hearing issues, sometimes sight issues, if somebody cannot see out of one of their eyes, or they have autism without another underlying condition, they don't look any different than anybody else. So in my perspective, from law enforcement background, if I respond to a scene and somebody's displaying some type of behavior that could be threatening, I revert back to my training. I at the end of the night, I'm going home. I will go home at the end of the night. Hopefully everybody else does safely. But my mission is kind of go out and try to teach people to understand the behaviors and not misinterpret some of the behaviors they may see from people with disabilities. But Lowe's has stepped up and they've offered this grill. We're going to auction it off and try to raise money for the network, like I said, so we can keep doing these shows and educating people. But to be honest with you, while law enforcement, public safety needs the training, I'm of the opinion that anybody who comes in contact with the general public needs to have training, such as Fatima with Lowe's. I'm sure it's been a learning experience with her, but she has welcomed the opportunity to hire my friend Austin, who we're going to see in a few minutes. And she understands that it's a different set of circumstances, but she and Lowe's have given him and others opportunities to show what they're capable of doing. Like I said before, it's not a disability, it's a different ability. So many people with disabilities can do the same exact thing as everybody else. They may do it differently. And in some cases, I'll tell you, with autism, as brilliant as they are, they may very well be able to do it better. If you haven't watched the show, did a few months ago, a month and a half or so ago, I had a gentleman on my program, Joey Fry, and he lives about 40 minutes away from me. But Joey, I'd encourage you to go back to the Chapters rap with Steve Vaccaro. Look for that show. Joey's an artist, and he has his own art studio. He's early 20s, but he's on the spectrum, and he draws draws and paints and does some amazing things. So I encourage you to go back. And even his mother got an opportunity during the interview with him to talk about her journey with Alzheimer's and dealing with her mom. She opened up and shared some situations and issues that she dealt with. And many times those individuals, those caregivers, they're so secluded and they don't have anybody out there to vent to talk to about their problems. And with, a lot of times with Alzheimer's itself, that when people find out that somebody has Alzheimer's, sometimes that friend network disappears. And that's the actual opportunity for people to get in there and help and say, I want to understand what's going on. I want to help you. I want to give you a break. Go to the store, go run your errands, and I'll take care of your loved one. But again, we're here at Roma's, and we're going to have some great food. We had some great food tonight. And I also want to talk to you all. I met a young lady the other night who we're having a birthday party in the background. But she was going to be on the show, but she will be here on the 25th for the event. But her name is Valerie James Abbott, and this is a book she has published. It's called Caterpillar. And I had the opportunity to sit down with her 2 nights ago, and she talked about her daughter, her youngest daughter, they discovered that she had hearing problems at a very early age. And this book is written from the perspective of the older daughter, wondering why, the younger daughter was not pronouncing words properly. And they ended up going, and the doctor diagnosed her with a hearing problem. And this is the journey of the family going to the doctor and finding out that news, and ended up getting hearing aids for their daughter. So she's a great person to listen to talk. And again, like I brought up before, she and I had a discussion over the invisible disabilities because her daughter is starting to drive. She's concerned. What happens if for some reason officers or rescue squad come up behind me and I can't hear the sirens? Hopefully she would see the lights flashing in the background. But as an officer, that brings up a whole different circumstance because you're pulling somebody over for a traffic stop and they can't hear what you're saying. So that person who can't hear is not going to be able to change their mode of communication. It's up to the officers. It's up to the managers at Lowe's. It's up to the other bosses, businesses that hire people with disabilities. It's up to us to figure out how to do the communicating. They're not going to change for us. We've got to adapt and we've got to change for them. So that's one point I try to drive home with everybody. But Valerie will be here. She's slated to be here on the 25th at Roma's from 5 to 9. We're having the big event. I believe she'll have her book with her and she'll be speaking some. We'll do a live show, hopefully get an opportunity that y'all can hear her on camera. But a very interesting lady, and I look forward to working a lot with her in the future. We were talking about disabilities and law enforcement interaction. There are studies out there. I've mentioned it before. Dave Whalen with Niagara University has done studies that about 49% of people who have interactions with law enforcement officers have a disability. That does include mental health. That does include autism, all these other issues, even Alzheimer's and dementias. They are all disabilities. Some people are not born with these disabilities, but they develop them during life. And one target audience there is your veterans, the ones that have been to war, who are dealing with traumatic brain injuries, who have IEDs go off and it shakes their brain and it does damage to the brain, and there may be memory issues. So they're all out there among us. And also the NFL, I read a lot about the brain injuries, Alzheimer's and things from all the hits to the head that those players have taken. And I'll show you one item where we do have, if I can get it. A friend of mine I went to high school with, actually graduated high school and ended up going to Virginia Tech. A very good friend. He just had to leave to get his son back home. But Jock Jones, he actually played for Virginia Tech, 4 years of Virginia Tech, and went on to play with the Cleveland Browns as well as the Arizona Cardinals. He has brought an autographed picture of himself on the field, as well as an autographed football that we're going to go ahead and auction off at the event. So we're very appreciative of him. He's going to try to be back on the 25th for the event, but he's an amazing guy. Like I said, I think he graduated from high school a year after me, but he went on to do some pretty amazing things. He was a great ball player at Virginia Tech, and I'd encourage you to look him up and find more about him. Played a few years. I think there may have been some injuries, and he's back home and very good friend of mine. I've actually run across him on the side of the road while I was working as law enforcement, as a police officer, trying to deal with the situation. And he'd actually pulled over, got out, and came to help me deal with the situation I was dealing with. So great opportunity to get more people involved in what we're doing and just raising awareness. We're trying to get to the community here just outside of Richmond and let people know what's going on, what's happening in their community, because if we're not doing shows like this and we're not getting out there ringing our own bell, tooting our own horn, they're not aware of what's going on. So that's why we're here doing what we're doing. Just some statistics for you as we talk about disabilities. With autism itself, right now the CDC says that autism is occurring at 1 in every 54 births. And it's actually 4 times more prevalent for males. So the question is not if somebody's going to run into a person with autism. The question is when it's going to happen. It's not a question of if somebody's going to run across somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia. It's a matter of when, because according to the Alzheimer's Association, in the United States alone, there are over 6 million people dealing with Alzheimer's or form of dementia. And a lot of times with the Alzheimer's and dementias, they will wander off and get away from their caregiver because they're starting to lose that short-term memory. And if they've lost the past 30, 40 years of their life in their mind, who knows where they lived 30, 40 years ago. And they're saying they want to go home. They want to go home because they don't recognize the surroundings and it's not familiar. So they will walk right out of the house and start walking to wherever they think they live. And that's been an issue. It's nice to have officers out there who have training, have understanding of what's going on with the disease, but it's also nice to have citizens, business owners, when they have somebody standing on a sidewalk outside of the business that just seems to be hanging around, and they call 911 or they approach them themselves. If they can pick up on some of the signs or signals to show that, or one of these behaviors to show, okay, something's not right with this person. Let me get some other people involved and make sure this person is safe and gets to where they're supposed to go. Because again, it's an invisible disability. What I'm trying to do is educate people to be able to pick up on some of the behaviors to keep our community safe. When I was sworn as a police officer, I was not sworn to protect this group or that group. I was sworn to protect and serve everybody. And that's how I look at my job. And I would like for every officer out there to look at the job that way. Obviously, some don't, but that's in essence what we should be doing. So what I would like to do is bring a friend of mine on. His name is Austin Gammon, and he is employed at Lowe's. And he's going to tell you a little about what he does with his job and how he feels about being employed by Lowe's. Austin?
Hi, my name is Austin. I work at Lowe's in Mechanicsville. What I do is I load cars, get trash, load cars, get shopping carts brought in, get the trash, etc. Work the front end. But if someone asked me to describe Lowe's in one TV show, I would say Pawn Stars, because you never know who is gonna walk inside Lowe's. Could be someone as nice as can be, could be someone ready to snap your neck off. But I love my job. I love that Lowe's give me the opportunity to work when other places wouldn't. And when they first hired me, I told Human Resources I've worked 15,000 days and I was calling it quits. And I've been employed at Lowe's over 600 days. I couldn't be happier for everything they have done, from the grill to the manager that's as nice as can be. I love my job, and I couldn't ask for any other place I'd want to work at than Lowe's.
Good guy. What's your favorite part about the job?
Um,
Or do you have more than one favorite thing?
I have more than one
Everything's your favorite.
because I love. While I do love the money, what's more important is treating each customer like family, and that's what truly matters to me. While while it is important to do your job, the customers are the top priority. Loading the cars, the uh, the things that you have to do around Lowe's, like the trash and all that. Um,
Well, you've met some
yeah,
pretty important people over the years that have actually come to buy light bulbs. Is that right?
Ed Gillespie, who
Ran for
was the Virginia gubernator, who ran for governor of Virginia in 2017 against Ralph Northam won, but it was like 53 to 45, something like that, but it was less than 10
But he needed
points.
light bulbs. Who did he come see?
Me.
He came to see him. He knew Austin. Austin had reached out to he and his wife during the when they were campaigning, and may have been before that. And they struck up a relationship. And actually, Austin got invited to a luncheon up in Northern Virginia, Vienna, Virginia, and actually invited me to go up there. And it was a luncheon for Ed Gillespie, who was running for governor.
As well as New Mexico's governor at the time,
Right.
Susana Martinez.
Right. So we got to go up there. He invited me, took me along, and I got to meet Ed Gillespie and some other very important people. But, I think it speaks volumes when you've got a politician or somebody who, I don't know, how far did he have to come to buy his light bulbs?
He is from
Had to go pretty good ways.
Alexandria.
So he drove a couple hours to come get his light bulbs, but he wanted to make sure he saw Austin. So that's the kind of people we need in our communities to make our communities better. And, Austin has been a fan of mine, and I'm hoping he's a fan of mine. I mean, I'm a fan of his, but he has, we've done news stories before. We've been on Channel 6, done different stories.
The other thing is I cannot thank Mr. Sun enough, because the one thing I have I respect about him is his law enforcement. He goes to work each day and doesn't know what he's going to come into contact with. So the fact that Tim does what he does, goes to work, and his willingness to help others is an inspiration to me, and I hope to others.
Well, we try. I mean, it's just, you're an inspiration to a lot of people. You might not realize it, but you are. And I know, what was interesting, I think I was talking to your mom the other day about probably 3 or 4 years ago. You really didn't want anybody to know about the autism, didn't want to talk on camera. And then you and I did a news story, and you've really embraced who you are. And you are special, and you realize you're special. And here you are helping Lowe's out, working for Lowe's.
And the other thing that I didn't discuss was every time I'm working, if a law enforcement police officer comes to Lowe's, I get their card. And in my wallet, I have at least 28 to 30 different business cards from varieties of police officers that work for Hanover County. Probably about a fourth or a fifth of all Hanover County officers.
And see, Austin does something that I try to recommend to families, is introduce yourself to the officers if you see the officers. This way, he's got a stack of cards from the officers that I work with in other jurisdictions, but they've met Austin. So if they're out and about and they run across him somewhere, they'll understand him better. Autism, if you've met one, you've met one. Every single one's different. And, to be able to go up and introduce yourself and they know who you are. So when they see you out and about, or if they come to your house for a crisis situation, something bad happens, they already know who you are. They're already familiar, and Austin's familiar with them. So it's not something that's out of their routine. Because if you change a routine, a lot of times it will cause a meltdown or they'll get stressed out. So he's building these relationships, and it goes two ways. Officers need to be trained on how to interact with people with autism and other disabilities. But on the other hand, families, parents need to teach their kids how to interact with us. Not to walk up and try to grab things on our belt, because we don't want anything bad to happen. So it's not just a matter of officers being trained. It's a matter of everybody understanding everybody's job, everybody's role. So I would encourage families to get out there and introduce, your kids, your families to the officers so they're familiar with you. So anything else about Lowe's you can think of you want to share? I can tell you when you go to Lowe's and Austin's working, you are hard pressed to find any shopping cart in the parking lot.
Yeah, when I get there, my boss even told me, wow, I wish you worked every single day, because the parking lot would be empty, because probably within like the first hour, I'm able to get 40 to 50 or more shopping carts. And I think the most I've gotten in an hour was 124. And I keep track. I have a journal to keep track of how many days I've worked. And the just the job that Lowe's has done for me and given me opportunity. And I really look up to Ms. Fatima. I think of her as a role model for everything she does.
Well, I admire Lowe's for giving you the opportunity. And I mean, you can see the pride he takes in his job. And that's why I'm saying don't write people off because they have autism or any other disability. There's some amazing employees. They can do some wonderful things. And you can see he's proud of what he does. He loves his job. He loves to go to work, and he gets a paycheck.
And my boss has even told me that I'm one of the hardest workers at Lowe's. And that I would agree with that, but I definitely think that there are people that the hardest working people have got to be the managers, because they step up, they go above and beyond. So I would say that I am partially one of the hardest workers, but I would definitely say that the managers are probably up there as the top spot, because in order to run a store, you gotta have good managers.
You gotta have a good supervisor,
Yep.
somebody that leads, not manages. Well, that's absolutely awesome. And your managers donated a 6-burner grill for our function that we're gonna have, our big event, Chapters Network, 25th from 5 to 9 here at Roma's in Mechanicsville, Virginia. We look forward to people being here. You want to sit here while I do the rest of the show?
Yeah.
I want to go over some things. We've got a lot you can stay here if you like. I'll go ahead. Go ahead. He's going to take a break. But no, I just wanted to share some of the, what we've had, the opportunities we've had to get some things to, auction off, raffle. Roma's obviously offering the location and everything, and some amazing meals. We ate here tonight. It's very good food. Mentioned Lowe's with the 6-burner grill. We're going to auction off for the network. Hometown Realty here in Hanover County. We've had $500 donation from them. $500. We've got a 32-inch Vizio television we're going to be auctioning off. Vivi Nails, we've got gift cards from Nail Place here locally. Riverbound Cafe here in Mechanicsville, we've got free appetizers. what's this one? Bodero. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the bowling. They've changed the name. The bowling alley here. 8 free games of bowling we've got available for people. Hanover Pie Company, great pizzas. They're giving us certificates for free pizzas for people here. Green Top Hunting and Fishing. They've actually, here in Virginia, they've got a gun range that you can come in and shoot. We've got 4 1-hour passes to go there and use the facility. Jamboncos, we've got gift cards, another restaurant. Clay and Cottage here in Virginia, here in Mechanicsville. We have a set of autism earrings to be given away to somebody. Sparkle and Shine with Stacy. They've got some autism jewelry as well. Vicky Romano, $50 donation. We have an autographed picture from Peyton Manning he sent. We were able to get that. I told you about Jock Jones, his football we've got. Bell Cottage here in Mechanicsville, they've got some items. And Adam Jones, we've got autographed items as well. And yesterday, I believe it was, it showed up on the door. We've got some items from Jason Mraz, the singer. He actually went to the high school here, graduated here locally. So he is from the Mechanicsville, Virginia area. So we've got some items there that can help us raise some money for the Chapters Network. It's a 501c3. It gives us the opportunity to be able to do what we do and get information out. The Chapters has shows, my show, A New Perspective. There are teen shows. There are all kinds of different shows with a variety of different types of people. But the Chapters Network is about giving back to the community and doing things for the community. Not just in one particular area, but anywhere that they can be of service. They do a lot in New York. Steve Vaccaro, there's some great shows. I saw Rachel Barcelona. She popped on here just a minute ago. But some of these shows are really good shows from great people. The reason I ended up with my show, Rachel and Tyler Gianchetta had asked me to come on their show to kind of tell what I would do and in a nutshell, being a law enforcement officer and trying to educate people. Then I had the opportunity to have this platform to be able to share my information that hopefully more and more and more people can hear. And hopefully some of the crowd I can bring in about what I teach and talk about. We'll check out some of the other shows for the Chapters. But it's amazing what they're doing and they're just reaching the communities. And as you can see from the sheet of paper and the things we've been given to help raise money for the network. And again, locally, I know we had a couple of weeks ago, we had Melody Fierno with Raise, and she has coffee carts to go around to the high schools in the area in different locations. And the children have disabilities, but they're learning how to measure, how to make coffee, do different things, clean up after themselves. And they're learning these life skills. They're learning how to live life. And people like Melody and Raise are doing some awesome things here in the Richmond area. So what I'd like to do now is bring on Mr. Sal, the man who's allowing us the opportunity to utilize this building. And we just talked a few minutes ago and found out we do have a common thread.
How are you? Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Appreciate
Hi,
you.
everyone.
Appreciate you being here.
No problem. No problem.
What does it mean? I know we came to you and said, hey, look, we want to do this event. We want to try to help the community. What does helping the community here that you live in, what does that mean to you?
I grew up out here, so this is home for me, and anything I can do, to improve or make us better out here, that's, what I'm looking to do. My kids go to school out here. My business is here. So I'm invested to this community, and I truly am thankful and blessed that I was raised out here, and I really enjoy this area.
Okay. So you went to school out here?
I did.
How about that?
Yep.
How about that? Well, I found out talking to him, I was asking him about disabilities and autism, Alzheimer's, and found out that I'd actually met his grandmother a few years ago. I told you I go out and meet families dealing with loved ones who have cognitive issues, Alzheimer's, other dementias, and actually met his grandmother. And she had Alzheimer's. And when I met her, it was kind of difficult to carry on a conversation. And talking to the family, they told me that in her mind, she still thought she was in Italy. And the question is, if she were to wander out of the house down the street, and with her mindset being that she's in Italy, looking around, she's not going to recognize anything. And, the scary part is to think of where she may have wandered off to. And I know where she was living, there was a lot of, I think she was living different locations at different times. Is that correct?
Yeah, Tappahannock is when we kind of, noticed, she was going through,
Right.
some change there and
Right.
trying to figure out what it was, and ultimately, the Alzheimer's dementia.
Right.
One of the first episodes was, she left at nighttime, and that's kind of when my family reached out to you. And,
Right.
We needed to come up with a solution because one time was enough.
Right.
So.
It's, and there are different tracking programs out there to deal with wanderings and elopement. Wrist size transmitters that work off radio frequencies. You can put it on an ankle. They're GPS tools to use. I would encourage you to get with your local public safety agency and see if there is something, if this is a problem that you're dealing with. But you can see the struggle that caregivers deal with on a daily basis because, everybody has to live their life. They have to go to the store. They have to run errands. They have to take showers. They have to bathe and all. And it doesn't take but a split second for somebody to open that door and just all of a sudden be gone, and everybody's out there looking for them. And it's scary. It's got to be scary. And that's kind of why, officers need to understand what's going on. And I'm a firm believer that every agency should have some form of tracking system to offer the public, because with a lot of this equipment, you can go out there once you receive the call, you can find the person within about 30 minutes. And I have been one who's been involved in 5-6 day searches for somebody. And the whole time you're thinking, if they just had one of those transmitters on, we could have been done days ago and brought that person home safely. So that's the key to that. But yeah, Sal's opening up his business for us, and we're very appreciative. I know Steve Vaccaro, head of the network, Chapters Network, is very grateful for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We were hoping to have some of them down here this week to talk, but talk with us on camera and to meet you and everything. But things didn't work out, but they will be here next weekend, and we're really looking for a big event. So anything else you can think of that you want to share?
I just, when like we were talking about the Alzheimer's and, the dementia, I just tell people, try to find out as much information about the disease so you can understand a lot better on how to, different situations that you're brought up into, because it truly is a very slow process. And unless you've never seen that before, it's really draining on your family and everybody. So just kind of preparing yourself for that. We really I miss my grandma every day.
Oh, of course.
She was pretty much the rock of our family.
Right.
I mean, I stayed out there all the time in Tappahannock as a young child.
Right.
But, having to see, not only what she had to go through and, what the family went through, it was just hard.
Well, the disease, it robs you of that person.
I mean, she dealt with it 7, 8 years, but it was like, we lost her 7, 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't have a serious conversation with her anymore. And, that's what we, really missed. And
too many people, I think, I find that a lot of people are not being educated on the Alzheimer's and dementia and what it does to the person. And that's the information that the families need to know. They need to understand the sundowning sometimes in the evenings, or if it's overcast, dark, they will get aggravated sometimes and maybe lash out. But the Alzheimer's, it can change somebody's complete personality. And you have to realize that's not your grandma. That's the disease doing this to your grandma.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of classes over the years where people would come up afterwards and say, the class has given me closure, because when grandma or grandpa died, we had so much anger from the things that they were doing, and we thought they were doing it on purpose just to irritate us. And they said, now going through your class to see the progression of it gives me closure, because I'm not angry anymore, and I can tell my family about it, and we can realize it wasn't grandma or grandpa we were mad at the disease. So, that's why I appreciate Sal sharing his story, because people need to hear this. Like I said earlier, it's not if you're going to be affected, it's when. Somebody somewhere, hopefully it's not a close family member, but the possibility is that it may very well be. But you're going to run across people. And even though it might not affect you, Austin, going to Lowe's just to see Austin, think about that. Guy running for governor goes to Lowe's, drives a couple hours just to go see Austin and buy light bulbs. So we can do a lot of work out there educating the public. And again, I thank you, Sal. I know you got to get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. And look forward to the event next week. Thank you very much.
We'll have a good time.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, buddy. So what we want to do, the 25th, we're hoping to have like a precursor to this small event to introduce a lot of people to one another and introduce them to what we're doing. And what we would like to do in the spring, our goal is to have a big event here in Richmond, a very large event here in Richmond, where we can invite some families of those who are differently abled. Because a lot of things that go on out there, you think about the birthday parties, children having birthday parties. A lot of times these kids with autism and other disabilities invite all these other children to their birthday parties and nobody shows up. And I can only imagine how heartbreaking that is. But this event, we want to be for them. It is for everybody. But we want to have an event for those who are differently abled and have some things we can, interact with them, work with them, talk with them, have fun. Maybe they can see some things they've never seen before. But I know Steve Vaccaro, everybody with the Chapters Network, we want to have this big event in the spring. And, from this little, we're going to have an event here on the 25th. But we expect down the road it's going to be bigger and better as the Chapters Network gets more shows out there and gets that bigger audience. And, tune into my show. Please pass it around. Let people know about it. Check it out. Especially if some families with disabilities are dealing with some tough things. They need to hear these things. They need to hear them from somebody. One of the things I love about my job when it comes to what I teach with the Alzheimer's and autism, I really don't think a lot of people would expect that somebody with a gun and a badge would be coming in and educating them on what they're living daily. Most people out there in the public think our job is to go out and arrest bad guys and write speeding tickets. But our job in law enforcement has changed over the years, and it's changes daily. But we have become problem solvers. Officers have become problem solvers. We get dispatched to, dad calls because the 11-year-old daughter will not let the other children go to sleep. We get calls because somebody bought windshield wipers at Walmart and did not know how to put them on the car. So who do they call? They call the police. And people call 911 for one main reason. We show up. So we show up. And you would be amazed, the law enforcement profession, what we get pulled into doing. But we are problem solvers. We're out there trying to solve problems for people who can't solve the problems themselves. The education part, it doesn't solve the problem. It's not going to get rid of autism. It's not going to get rid of Alzheimer's. But I think the education and a better understanding of what's going on in those families' lives, and to be able to sit down at a kitchen table with a family or a caregiver in that uniform and sit there and carry on a conversation and show some empathy and let them know that, hey, we understand this is going on or that's going on. And, we're out there. We're out there, and we're not just dealing with it to go look for people who go missing. We're dealing with, the child who had autism becomes an adult with autism, lashes out at the parents and assaults one of the parents. When, pretty much you've got to look at each situation, incident, it was their intent. So each individual incident, you've got to analyze that. You can't just say, okay, well, always take them to jail, don't take them to jail. There are times when you have to, but there are many times when officers can come out there, help remedy a situation and do their job and help the family. And that's what my goal is to educate people to understand. The event on the 25th of September here at Romans in Mechanicsville, reach out for tickets. You can contact one of my favorite people in the world, Donna Gammon, is helping me get this get this event going. She's done a lot of the outreach, and I want to thank her because she's contacted business after business to be able to have these things to auction off. But you can try to find her on Facebook, Donna Clark Gammon, Gammon on Facebook, or you can email her at dcgammon, Gammon, 7227 at gmail.com. Again, that's DC, like David Charles, Gammon, Gammon, 7227 at gmail.com. We would love to have as many people as possible to come out to celebrate people with different abilities and give you a new perspective. And again, Sal, thank you so much. But one thing I want to share with you, from Donna's perspective, would you like to come over here? Because you brought up some things that we wanted to talk about. And, Donna, this is Austin's mom. And, we talked before the show about some of the issues with autism. And you brought up one thing was isolation. And can you share something about the isolation, whether it's with Austin or with the family in general?
Well, it tends to be both. The child tends to be isolated. I know one struggle that we had was with graduation. As graduation grew closer, he saw all his peers starting to plan to go away to college. And so I guess the analogy I could use is we're standing on a shoreline watching all the ships sail away as they're going off to college, and we're trying to figure out where he's going to land. What are his plans? What is he going to do for his future? Right. Then from a parent's perspective, you go through and it's like you start to get isolated from your peers because, some of your friends that don't understand autism look at you like, that child just needs his butt blistered. And I'm sorry, but I can't whip the autism out of him. Right. So, it's isolation on both parts.
Right. And you brought up the bullying thing too, which I know has been talked about on a couple shows here on the network, but I know that was an issue with Austin during high school. And unfortunately with autism a lot of times, and it's not just autism, it's all through life. And there's a variety of ways of bullying. But I know that was an issue going through high school and into college with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was bullied all 4 years of high school. He didn't fit in.
Right.
Basically his best friend was our cat. He came home and cried to the cat every day. Right. And then, when he got out of high school, things were better for him, but then he started to take some classes in college. Right. So I'm thinking things would definitely be better there. Right. Because we're dealing with adults.
Right.
I took a class with him, and boy, did I get an eye opener. I sat on the opposite side of the classroom from him because I wanted him to have his own independence. I didn't want people to realize we were a mother and son. And I sat there and watched grown adults make fun of him in class. So, but that would be a whole different show. So
yeah, and you've shared that a few times, and I've actually shared it when I taught. And nobody knew that Austin was her son, and you had one friend in there that did. That mm-hmm. was with you, mm-hmm. and they started making fun and laughing. And Donna ended up getting out of the class and going and sitting outside. And I think the friend made it known that was her son, and she couldn't believe what they did. They were bullying him, picking on him. And she explains how, in the story, how people in the class were coming out saying, "Hey, we're sorry, come on back." And even the teacher came out and said, "Please come back in." And there was no way you were going back in there at that time. But Austin came out, the same Austin you saw right here sitting talking to me, and told her, "Look, this is what's going on all through high school. I'm used to it. I'm going back in there." And he went back in that class, and I remember her saying that it was at that point that she realized Austin had become more of a man than she ever thought he would become. So Austin's not here right now, but for somebody who has autism, he has come a long way. 3 or 4 years ago, he wouldn't talk about it. And now he's done news interviews. You heard him talk here. He's embraced it. He realizes he's special. He's got some great abilities. He has a purpose. He's got people giving him opportunities. And that's what we're trying to get across. I'm trying to get you to have a new perspective on all of these things. And the Chapters Network is trying to get you to realize that everybody's got potential and amazing abilities. Some are different abilities, but they're still amazing. So as we get ready for this show on the 25th, we'll wrap things up. But I just wanted to invite you again, please, if you're interested in the area or going to be in the area, look for tickets or try to get tickets. This is Donna Gammon. Her email, dcgammon7227@gmail.com, or try to find her on Facebook, Donna Clark. It's CLARK, no E, Gammon on Facebook. So try to reach out to her, direct message her or whatever. And again, my contact information, you can check my website out. It's a-betterunderstanding.com. Learn more about me and what I do and why I do it. You're welcome to email me. It's aawareness12@yahoo.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Tim Sutton, A Better Understanding. So please think about the 25th. If you can't be here, we'd love to have your support anyway. I'd like to, again, thank Sal for letting us use the facility, have the restaurant and the food. The food is great. Thank you, Donna, for everything you do, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls. She has some superpower there. Austin, I want to thank him for being here and visiting with us. Steve Vaquero, Rachel, Tyler, Ashley, everybody with the network. Stay well, because we need you here on the 25th. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys. And just thank you, Steve Vaquero and the Chapters Rap, for everything you've done for us and everything we're trying to do here in the Richmond area of Virginia. So everybody take care, and please contact us if you need anything. Thank you.